I just got done training. Happy weigh-in Wednesday, or whatever we're calling this. I'm not sure that's what we're calling it. Per usual, I just got done training. I am back to wearing a red shirt, which I remember now is something that like Nick Ocado does. Like somebody pointed out when he was like still living in Colombia that whenever he was sad, he had a red shirt on. So now he like wears a red shirt all the time. So anyway, that's not what I'm going for. I just happened to train at a gym where the colors were black and red. So all of our stuff is kind of black and red. Anyway, not on purpose. Just what and don't judge the pink sports bra underneath the red shirt. Oh, if you're curious, I wear a handful of sports bras. Super comfortable. They have I wear the Y back design, which is really nice for Olympic lifting. It kind of just gives your back a little bit more room to move. Really like that style. You can find them online. They also have, I think they donate to breast cancer research, and also they do like, if you are a cancer survivor, I think they have like a special deal. So check it out if that's of interest to you. Anyway, my wrist is sweating so bad underneath my watch. It feels gross. So happy weigh-in Wednesday. I'm going to post my weight for the week right here. So I have been kind of in the 185s for the last, like, what would be like 4 or 5 days. So was hoping for a little bit more movement this week because my stuff's been really dialed in. My nutrition and my training. Could be some inflammation still though. We're still doing really heavy Metcons, as you can see. I Metcon tonight for just a little over 20 minutes. It had a 25-minute time cap on it. And I will go ahead and post that for you guys right here. It was like, I don't know, it was pretty shitty. It was pretty shitty. Not like Murph shitty, or like the Chief shitty, or Fran shitty, but it was pretty shitty. And by shitty, I mean I loved it, and I would do it again later if I got the opportunity. So, still working on getting ready for the Open, which is in about a month. So just working on my aerobic capacity and my metabolic conditioning, which is the reason for all the AMRAPs on top of my regular training. My training sessions, though, right now are still averaging just a little under an hour. The other day, I think mine was only 40 minutes, and then today was, by the time I had to warm up, I lifted, I snatched today. I was working on my turnover, trying to get that a little bit faster, so it was a little bit lower weight. And then I did like in every 30 seconds, just one lift. In a power snatch for 5 minutes, just to one, get my heart rate up, and two, just to work on speed. It's really difficult to snatch in the basement. The ceilings are low. I'm really short, so it's not that big of a deal, but I struggle a little bit like mentally in the basement with those Olympic lifts because I feel like I'm aware of the ceiling being low, even though I know I'm not going to hit it. It's just kind of like when you're used to being in a box or like out in the garage, like obviously the ceiling is very high. Like you have so much clearance. So it's just like you feel a little claustrophobic when you're trying to Olympic lift in the basement. So anyway, so that was my workout for the day. I do have a check-in tomorrow with my primary nutrition guy. His name is Peter. I've worked with him on and off for like the last year. He has a PhD in nutritional sciences, so he's very well, I think I've mentioned this before, he's very, very well like versed in this. This is what he does, but he typically works with bodybuilders and powerlifters, so he's not super familiar with CrossFit, which is really good when you're trying to get into a deficit, because CrossFit is not an aesthetic sport. It is a power sport. Like it is a athletic ability sport. It is a speed sport. It is a strength sport. So it's like everything that bodybuilding is not. And I'm not knocking on bodybuilders, but ultimately the goal of a bodybuilder, right, is to get very lean, very shredded, get on stage, pose off, get a trophy. By the way, Kitty is zooming around the house right now. So if you hear him meowing, he is not being tortured. He is just singing the song of his people. Anyway, so Working with Peter has been really cool because he just has a very different perspective on nutrition when it comes to like deficits and, for calorically speaking, and then how to get there with maintaining your lean muscle mass, but having it not affect your performance. And that's my goal, right? And so, been working with him. It's been going pretty good. It's a little slower than what I would want. However, I'm also not willing to sacrifice the performance side. So like I can't like drop my calories way low, right? And then I can't eat way high if I was, competing, or whatever. So I'm kind of in the middle there somewhere, like below the TDE, but still enough to fuel the workout, still enough to get into a deficit. It's just like I'm not eating like 900 calories in the deficit. Like it's just not. I mean, I could if I wasn't training. I mean, it would suck. I don't recommend that, but yeah, so gonna check in real quick with him tomorrow just to see how some things are going, and maybe make some adjustments with just some of my macronutrients. I don't necessarily want to drop my carbs any lower. My fats are still pretty low, comparatively speaking, but maybe the protein down just a little bit, just to give me, a few extra, like a few less calories, I should say. Just gives me like a little extra burn per day. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, let's talk about exercise. So I understand that there's a lot of preconceived ideas about CrossFit. Jillian Michaels has some opinions that she frankly has no business having. But that's fine if she wants to have those opinions. There are reasons why people feel that CrossFit specifically is unsafe, that we do all this crazy stuff, that people get injured, that the things we do are very complex and they're too complex for the average person. Totally understand why that is a thing. I do not pretend that those things do not happen in some boxes. There are bad coaches. That's a fact. That's a fact. You're going to find that anywhere. There are bad trainers. There are bad, bodybuilding coaches. There are bad nutrition coaches. Like you're going to find that in any athletic endeavor, right? Any sport's going to have that. So anyway, I understand that people have ideas about it, and that's okay. But I do encourage you to check it out, because the one thing about CrossFit is that it's infinitely scalable. So the things that I do, today, are not the things that I did the first day that I walked into a CrossFit box 4 years ago. Not even close. I didn't walk in and the first day I was snatching, 100 pounds above, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. And like I said, all the workouts are scalable. So if you can't do pull-ups, you do ring rows, right? And if you can't do, like sit-ups from the floor, if you have a back issue or, whatever, you can do sit-ups on an incline bench that you would use for bench pressing. If you cannot squat, with a bar, like back squat with a heavy barbell, then you start out with, just body weight squats, right? And if you can't get to parallel, we give you a target to squat to. So it could be a box, it could be a ball, like a wall ball, right? A pillow ball. It could be a bench, like it could be anything, right? And so, that's exercise. And what you might not recognize, right, as a back squat, if someone is doing an air squat, it's not about the weight, it's about the mechanics, and it's about working with what that person can do in that moment. And, if you're really heavy or just really out of shape, like a good coach is going to work with you and to make that fun and work within your ability. And so where I'm going with this is that our friend Chantel put out a video of herself working out. There is some speculation that someone paid her to make this, what really was, depending on how you want to look at it, kind of a naughty video, like of her bouncing on this exercise ball and, doing some like donkey kicks on the floor, and then, like bending over with her butt to the camera, and it, like, and her leggings were see-through and all this stuff. And people have literally lost their minds over this video. When I first saw it, I did not see it on YouTube. I actually saw it on Twitter. It showed up in my Twitter feed. And I was like, is this right now? Like, is this current? And then as the day went on, people started to react to it. And I ended up watching it on one of the reaction channels. And like, here's the deal. I don't care if someone paid her to do that. Okay? I don't care. And I don't care if someone didn't pay her to do it. And I don't care if she was wearing, leggings from, Torrid or wherever they're from that were like fishnets on the bottom. Like, she's like, hey, I shaved my pits for this. Yeah, great. That's awesome. Okay. So, but what I do care about is, and I think that she would agree with me, and I think that most, people would agree, is that regardless of the intent, like, I guess, is that the right word? Regardless of why, right? So I guess, okay, intent, whether she was paid to do it, whether she did it on her own, whether she's trolling, like, the fact that she was moving and like dancing and doing this, this workout, and whatever, and she seemed to genuinely be enjoying it, and whether she was just like getting a kick out of it because someone had paid her to do it, like, I don't really care, because movement is important, and like exercise comes in many forms. And I think that was an opportunity, right? Like, and again, let's just set aside the fact that she could have totally been trolling. Let it go. Okay. Set aside the fact that, allegedly someone has admitted to paying her $600 to do this. And I'm sorry, but listen, Chantel, girl, if you ever see this, honey, talk to me before you set your price, okay? Because I could have got you way more money for that. Like, we could have negotiated that, okay? I don't even need a cut, but I could have got you way more money. So, and then people will be like, oh, it should have been behind like a paywall. It should have been OnlyFans. It was very like provocative, whatever. Okay, fine. Okay, but let's just look at it from the point of view that perhaps, and again, I don't know, that she was just generally enjoying herself, and she was generally moving, because she has been saying that lately, that, she's focusing on, just moving and having it be, what did she call it? Joyful movement or something, which is fine. That is actually a thing. That is a practice that a lot of people, kind of follow, is that they walk, or they swim, or they do yoga, or they, do like those, like bar classes, or they do the stripper classes, which is like really good exercise. There's another thing too, like aerials, I think is what it's called, where they like, it's like acrobatic stuff, and you're like wrapped up in ribbons, and they teach you how to like spin around. I mean, there's like aerial yoga. There's all the things, right? And it's all like, to me as a CrossFitter, I look at that, I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Right? Because it doesn't like compute in my brain, as being exercise. Because when I watch someone doing, yoga, for example, and I'm not knocking on yoga, because I do the ROMWOD stuff because I have to, otherwise my hamstrings are shot and my upper back is shot, from lifting. But like, when I see that, I'm like, how does anyone enjoy that? Right? But it's the same for you, right? When you look at me and you see me, doing a CrossFit workout, you're just like, how the hell is this enjoyable? Like, you look like you're dying, right? And if you watch the CrossFit games, you will see like very high intensity workouts. And same thing in a regular CrossFit box, right? Obviously scalable to your abilities, but you look at me and you're like, Karen, you are paying money to suffer. Right. And I feel the same way on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, when I look at someone who's like, oh, I'm into yoga. Like, I'm like, oh, first of all, I'm jealous that you can stand on your head and do the splits. Like, legitimately jealous of that, but then I'm like, how is that enjoyable? And so it goes back to the whole finding the joy in the exercise, or just moving. Right. And so if we take out all the like, all the suspicion behind it, and you just look at it for what it is, like I said, she looked like she was enjoying herself. She was moving her body. She was actually doing it very safely, because that's another thing, right? Is when you're working with someone, even in CrossFit, like, I've had the opportunity to work with someone who's like a class 3 obese person, and when that person came to us, I was nervous, about coaching her. Because one, I was a brand new coach. I'm still very, green in the coaching area, but I was like, I don't want this person to hurt themselves, and that's things like jumping, running, those are off limits for a lot of people when you're really heavy. And that's not to shame somebody. It's a safety thing, like you have like, what's her name? Tess Holiday. She has done some things, with her workouts that a lot of people were like, whoa, and I don't know her, like her fitness ability, like, I don't know. I've just seen, some clips of it, and I'd be like, yeah, that looks a little intense for someone of that size. But again, I have no idea how much she weighs. I don't know what the condition of her joints are, like, I don't want to make those assumptions, but with Chantel, like, I think that, to be honest, again, if we set it all aside, the trolling and the whatever it could have been, right? If we just look at the act of itself, she actually did a really good job of like keeping that workout like low impact and all this stuff. And it was actually a very safe workout, like, and she, did, I don't even know how many minutes it was or whatever, but it doesn't matter because, like, again, she appeared to be enjoying herself, and whether she was enjoying herself because she was paid $600 or not, I don't care. Like, I don't even think that should be a part of the conversation. Like, let's just set it aside, and let's focus on the movement. And like, again, she obviously, her heart rate was up. She has to be careful because she does have health concerns. Like, she has a PE, I think, right? Or something, or it's a PE, right? Blood clot in the lung. So I just feel like everybody needs to let go of the whole, like, well, someone, a feeder paid her to do this, or this was paid for whatever, for whatever reason. Like, let that go for a second and actually like go, and you don't have to follow her. I don't follow her. It's not, I just pick it up on the reaction channels. But like, even like Life of a Free Spirit yesterday, I watched her reaction, and even she said, like, go give her props for this. Like, and you don't have to, you can appreciate this and not like forget about the things she has done that have been and said, that are problematic, right? So it doesn't excuse, all that. And it doesn't mean like, just because like I can say like, hey, like, listen, like, you looked like you're really enjoying this. You got your heart rate up for a little while. If you did that every day, for 7 minutes or 8 minutes, like, and I don't want to say like she wouldn't even have to really change her diet, but she wouldn't have to do like super drastic cuts, right? If she was just moving a little bit, because just by that 7 minutes or that 10 minutes a day, that's going to burn a lot of calories for a person of that size, right? And that's the whole thing where like Amber has done this and Chantel has done this, and some of the other girls too that that we watch and react to. And again, this is not a reaction channel, but it's sort of turning into that, and it's kind of weird because I feel awkward because I'm just sitting here with my cell phone here and I'm not all fancy, but but I just think that, like, first of all, they cut their calories down way too far, like, to go from someone who is, I will not call it binge eating, for someone who eats a lot of calories, to all of a sudden being like, oh, I'm going to do 1,800 or 1,500 a day. That, first of all, it's not even necessary. That's not even necessary. Like, you could still eat 2,500 calories probably and still lose weight. And that's a lot of food, that's a lot of food. That's to put it in perspective for you, this is not a great example from a nutritional value perspective, but that's 2 Big Mac meals a day. Like, that's a lot of food, and I mean, that's shitty calories. Like, that's not like nutritious, right? Like, don't get me wrong. This girl loves McDonald's. Okay. It is my number one go-to. I love McDonald's. It's my favorite. And I personally feel there is absolutely no other fast food restaurant that compares to McDonald's. And you can be like, oh, it's trash. Like, what about Chick-fil-A? But Chick-fil-A is good at Chick-fil-A, right? And Popeyes is good at Popeyes, and Subway's good at Subway, and Papa John's is good at Papa John's, and and like, I don't know what else. Wendy's is good at Wendy's, but there's nothing like McDonald's, right? And so I, like, I would love to eat 2 Big Macs meals a day. I could, but it would mess up my training, right? Like, I could do it for maybe a couple of days, if I was like on the road or something, I could probably get away with it, but it would just, that's going to be a cumulative effect for me in terms of lack of nutrient densities, right? It's low protein, it's higher fat, it's not, it's higher carb, but it's, she could do that, and, think about, and think about, like, say 2,500 calories in the context of super nutrient dense food. Like, 2,500 calories of chicken or turkey, sweet potatoes, broccoli, spinach, cauliflower rice, even regular rice, right? that's a lot of food. It's a lot, and it doesn't have to be boring, and it doesn't have to be any of that, and it's about the calories at that point. So I mean, she totally could, and I hope that, honestly, I hope that the speculators, that doesn't sound right. I hope that the people that are, let's say, suspicious, right? And I understand, like, I've been binge watched all this woman's videos. I understand. Like, I understand she's manipulative. I understand. Like, I get it, okay? But if you can set all of that aside, I'm not saying forget about it, but set it aside for a second, and really look at this, and like, and she's not, let's assume she's not trolling. Let's assume that, it wasn't paid for, and let's assume she genuinely enjoyed it. If she genuinely enjoys this and continues to work towards like better choices, although I am not an expert in intuitive eating. I personally cannot intuitively eat. I need to track my food. I need to know exactly what I'm going to eat during the day. That does not mean that I have any kind of like eating disorder, because I think there's a, how do I want to say this? You know where I'm going with this. I think that there are some people who feel that people who track macros all the time, and use MyFitnessPal and stuff is some form of disordered eating. I only track my macros because I like to know how my food affects my performance. And I'm tracking macros currently because I am still trying to lose 20 pounds. So when we started this, I think it was like 31, I think. Yeah, I think it was 31. So I'm moving in the right direction, right? And my goal with my nutritionist, like the guy, the man that I pay a shit ton of money to work with, right? Like, our goal is to get to where I don't have to track, right? That I'm settled in, that I can maybe track every other day, right? Or just, and it's, not really the intuitive eating. It's more of the just eating what I normally would eat, but just not doing the act of tracking, right? That's where our goal is, right? Is to get away from that. And so, and not have an impact my training, and not overeat, not undereat, right? So just sort of like settling into that routine without like relying on MyFitnessPal to tell me how much I've eaten, right? Makes sense? Okay. So, but again, if she's genuinely enjoying this, like, this needs to be encouraged, and positively encouraged, not like, oh, you're doing this for the feeders, keep at it, or people are going to pay her to do it. Like, I hope that that's not the case. Like, I hope that that's wrong. I hope that it's a lie, and that she is genuinely enjoying it, because she doesn't have to do CrossFit. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I always tell people whenever they're trying to lose weight, I always say, go to CrossFit, because you guys can look at the stories. More people have lost 100 pounds doing CrossFit than have ever been to the CrossFit Games. And that, you're talking 10 plus years of CrossFit Games, right? So to put that in perspective, like, that's thousands of people. Like, they have helped thousands and thousands of people get off blood pressure medication, deal with their type 2 diabetes, like all these things, right? And it doesn't have to be CrossFit. It could be anything. Like, it could be the bar class. It could be the yoga class. It could be spin. It could be, I don't even know. There's so many things. It could be like, what is that? Les Mills? Yeah. Whatever those classes are, like body pump. I mean, whatever you find enjoyable, you should do. And so when I look at this video of Chantel, and, and again, if I look at it, I have the skeptical eye on it as well, because I'm aware of the history here, but I look at it and I say, listen, if I take all of that out for a second and I watch this, like, yes, it was a bit uncomfortable, because I was like, girl, you know exactly what you're doing, sticking your butt up in the air like that, like towards the camera, like, it was really awkward, but I was like, if she's genuinely enjoying this, like, really, I'm not saying like ass pat her, but it needs to be encouraged in a positive way, because again, she doesn't, for her, if weight loss is her ultimate goal, and it appears that it probably is, whatever her intentions are, is that if she's enjoying it, like, this doesn't have to be like, she doesn't have to go sign up for a spin class. She doesn't have to sign up for CrossFit. Like, she has so much weight to lose that just this little bit of movement is going to make a huge difference. Right? Huge difference. Like, my brother's a big guy. He's probably, I don't even know. Like, is he 500 pounds? Is he 450, 425? I don't even know. Like, he's a big guy. And like, for him, like, and I'm not shaming him like at all. I've offered to help him in the past, just say like, listen, I understand, because I do, like, because I was 297 pounds, at my heaviest. Like, I understand, like, I was like, you don't have to go and do what I do. Like, like, I just happen to really enjoy the high intensity, like, gross suffering of CrossFit. But that I didn't start out that way. Like, I worked up to that. Like, after, I worked privately with a trainer, with a coach in CrossFit for 2.5 years. Like, it didn't just happen. I just didn't show up one day and all of a sudden I was, like I said, like, had a body weight snatch. Like, that's not a thing, and so, and I have friends like in the city my brother lives in that are personal trainers. I was like, I would be happy to pay for this, like, just to get you started, and again, he wouldn't even have to do a lot. Like, he could literally do like 10 air squats a day to the couch, like, let his butt touch the couch. He could like walk around the block a few times, like, I mean, maybe do some like bicep curls, even with just some soup cans. Like, I mean, and that would be it. And if he just did that, like in a, like an AMRAP, right? Like in many rounds as possible in like 10 or 15 minutes, like just like 3 times a week, he's probably going to lose 100 pounds in like 2 months, just from moving, right? And not even making super drastic changes to your diet. And that's the thing too, right? Is that I see like a lot of the weight loss channels, right, is that they go from like all to nothing, right? And that doesn't work. And, I learned that as a coach. Like, when we would do our 6-week challenges, right, which is our onboarding program in CrossFit, most CrossFit gyms, I think, have that. All of them probably do in some way, right? You've probably heard of those things. Like, it's your onboarding time when you do CrossFit. For those of you who do CrossFit, you usually have like a 6 to 8 week program. Sometimes they're longer. It just depends on, and it's just getting you acclimated into new habits, right? It's not about these big drastic changes, right? So like 1 week you'll have a habit of drinking, half your body weight in water, right? That's just the only thing you focus on. Plus you come to the gym 3 times a week. That's your first habit. Second habit, get 8 hours of sleep and come to the gym 3 times a week and drink your water. Third habit is, eat vegetables with every meal. It doesn't have to be measured. It doesn't have to be weighed. You don't have to be like me. Like, you don't have to weigh out your broccoli. Like, because I need to know that that's 85 grams of broccoli, right? Because I need to know the carbs, because I need to make sure that I'm not overdoing it on my carbs, because then I have water weight and then the scale doesn't move. And then I'm like, what the fuck? It's like, well, because vegetables still have calories in them, right? Like, you still got to know those things, but we don't do that early on, right? And that's the thing where it doesn't have to be, and sometimes the goals are like my friend Chris, love her, used to play football with her. The sweetest girl, has the biggest heart, and she tries that all to nothing and it blows up in her face every time, right? And she's like, I can't do this. And I'm like, girl, you can do it. And she's like, I'm in the drive-thru every day. And I was like, okay, so how about this? How about instead of the drive-thru for lunch every day, how about you just not do it 1 day a week, right? So just pick a day. Say, maybe it's Tuesdays. And you're just going to be like, you know what? No drive-thru today. I'm going to pack my lunch. I'm going to eat, in the cafeteria. I'm going to enjoy my meal. Like, it's going to be something delicious. Sorry, my watch was shaming me. It was the, you need to get up, because it beeps at me if I don't stand up every hour or something. And so, and I was like, I'm like, Chris, man, it doesn't have to be like all of a sudden I'm not eating fast food anymore. Like, some people can't do that. Like, some people have to be like, okay, like, I'm just going to focus on not eating fast food once a week. Dude, if that's what you have to do to make that change sustainable for yourself, do it, and do it for 2 weeks. And then in the 3rd week, cut it down to 3 times a week. Like, whatever it is you need to do, right? And I think that the Obese to Beast is really good at this too. Like, I think he has a very good perspective on it. And Shigara Transformations has a very good perspective on it. It's not all about, it doesn't have to be that hard, right? Just keep it very simple, and don't overwhelm yourself with all the change, because if you try to change too many things at one time, it's going to blow up in your face every single time. Every single time. you know, and some people are uber disciplined, right? And they're able to make bigger changes at once, but not everybody's wired that way. And so that's just saying back to Chantel, like, if this is legit, and let's just go with that it is. And she looked like, again, she looked like she was enjoying herself. And dancing is a great exercise. Like, look at Amber Lynn. She used to dance in her videos. And I was like, girl, just keep dancing. Like, you know, that can be your exercise. And I think that they have, like, is this a thing? Let me know if this is the thing. Is there like dance stuff on PlayStation or like Nintendo? You know what I mean? Like, kind of like those, I don't know, Nintendo Wii maybe had like dance or something, like something. And it doesn't even have to be that, because I think you could even do, there's like apps that you can do this stuff with. I mean, it doesn't even have to be all that. You know what I'm saying? But like, that's a really good exercise for someone. And if you enjoy doing it, that's what you should do. Like me, I enjoy suffering. That's why I do CrossFit. Okay. If I didn't enjoy this, I wouldn't do it. Like, I don't feel obligated. It's not like I sit here and I'm like, oh my God, I am so obligated to go downstairs and lift weights and to suffer. And I don't feel that way. I don't feel that way because I enjoy it, right? Like, if it was like, again, if it was yoga, no offense, I would be like, I do not want to do this. This is awful. You know, and it's just because of the way my brain works. My brain doesn't calm down. I'm just like, I'm always thinking about something, right? So it's not enjoyable for me to sit in silence and you know, and move, you know. And that's why, like, Ramwad is really hard for me too. I can maybe Ramwad for 15 minutes and I'm like, I'm out. See ya. Like, I gotta move, you know, and stuff. So, you know, and there are other things that I enjoy too. It's not just CrossFit. Like, and I don't compete. It's not like that. I'm not Tia Claire. I'm not Sarah Sigmund's daughter. I'm not Catherine David's daughter. I'm not Carrie Pierce. Like, I don't compete on that level. You know, I just enjoy it because it's fun and it makes me feel good, right? You know, and people judge the shit out of me for it. They're like, oh, it's not safe. It's a cult. Yeah. Okay, it's a cult. 100%. Okay. But it is safe because I have good coaches. That's why, you know, and I know what my limits are. And my ego does not drive me in CrossFit, you know, at all. But it's just, you know, again, like, do what makes you happy. And if bouncing on an exercise ball and dancing and doing donkey kicks and, you know, stretching with your butt in the air and towards the camera there with your see-through leggings, if that's what makes you happy, girl, you need to do it. Because it's just like, it's going to start to compound. And all of a sudden you're going to be dancing for 20 minutes, or, you know, maybe you're taking a class next or some, you know what I mean? Like, I just think that everybody should find something that they enjoy doing. And again, it doesn't have to be something like what I do. And it can just, like, look at Pulpy Syntax. My man, Pulpy Syntax, okay? He roller skates. And I would have never thought of, like, roller skating as being exercise. And I have friends that do, like, roller derby, which is cutthroat. Those girls are so tough. Like, I have never met such bad bitches in my entire life. Like, that shit is tough. You know, so, like, I think of that as being, like, this aggressive, you know, whatever. And you have to be in good shape to do that, you know, but he roller skates. And I was like, I would have never thought of that as, like, being, like, you know, like, exercise, right? But it totally is, you know. And then, you know, and again, then I have, you know, friends who lift weights, and I have, you know, like, Shakara Transformations, like, she's, you know, like, does her weightlifting, and, like, she did a, you know, Train Like Tia Claire Toomey day, and I'm the one who gave her that idea, and I programmed it for her. So go check that one out. Go check the Tia Claire Toomey one out. That was all me. So I'm really proud of that. Like, when I first found her, I was like, oh my God, she has to do CrossFit, because it's the complete opposite of bodybuilding, right? And I was like, she's gonna die, you know, and I didn't want her to die. So I programmed the body weight stuff for her. And so I didn't want her to die. So I was like, she's never gonna forgive me if she dies. Like, that's just, but now she was like, you know, I really liked that conditioning. I'm gonna start doing it a little bit. And I was like, get it, girl, you know, because I'm telling you, once you start this shit, you're addicted to it and you can't stop, right? You know, it's one of those things. But anyway, moral of the story. This is really long and I'm really sorry. Moral of the story. Find something that you enjoy doing, okay? And Chantel, girl, if that was not a troll, Okay. And I hope no one paid you to do it and you genuinely wanted to do it. But even if they did pay you and you still genuinely enjoyed doing it, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Like, I will high five you for that all day long. You know, and again, it doesn't mean like, you know, it doesn't mean you have to accept some of the things that have been problematic, if you want to go, high five Chantel. Doesn't mean that at all. But you can celebrate this, and hopefully this is a positive change for her, and I hope that some of the other girls get on that bandwagon too. And, again, if they enjoy moving, and do, whatever it is, doesn't have to be fancy. Don't have to suffer unless you want to. And then if you want to, let me know and I'll program some CrossFit for you. Otherwise, go to the CrossFit main site. They have excellent workouts there every single day. The methodology for CrossFit is 3 days on and 1 day off. Most people do not follow that. These days, we're all, like I said, we're all pretty addicted. I have found though that when I follow that 3 days on, 1 day off, that I feel a lot better. My body recovers the way that it needs to recover. And so I am enjoying following the 3 days on, 1 day off at this time. Like, that's been really, really good for me. And I've been doing that since since June. I started so after the shutdowns, kind of the summertime. And I found that I enjoy walking a lot more than I thought I would. So I just put on, put in my AirPod thingies and put on a podcast or something, and I go walk for a few miles. I really do like that. Like, no impact is really been great for me too. So anyway, way too long of a vlog, but I will see you again on Friday, unless something amazing comes up. Otherwise, I will see you right here next week for another weigh-in. And like the famous YouTubers say, if you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Don't be a dick. Don't go over and hate on anybody that I talked about today. That's not what that's about. My opinions are my own. This is purely for entertainment purposes only. I am not a nutritionist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I have a PhD in psychology, but I don't care about your feelings. I only want to know why you hate your job. Have a good night, everyone, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.